Hi, I'm Charlotte.
Hi, I'm Corinne.
Hi, I'm Danielle.
Hi, I'm Kellie.
Hi, I'm Amber, and we are Inclusion as One, making space for everyone
Together.
Hi everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Inclusion as One with myself, Amber, Corinne, Danielle, and Kellie. And I think there's a couple of things here where I think early intervention is absolutely key, and it's really key that nurseries and preschools have got a really strong understanding of what they're looking for, and that they're able to advise parents. You know, you're putting your child into a mainstream primary school, they need an EHCP, they need this, they need this. You know, why are we waiting until children are 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10? Because we don't want to label them. It's not about labeling them. It's about what can we put in place to scaffold this child. They might need an EHCP for 5 years and they might not need it anymore. Do you know what I mean? I'd rather have that around the child and it's like, right, okay, here's everything they need. They might not ever get a diagnosis of autism or anything. They might not ever have a diagnosis of that. But what I'm saying is it's not about labelling children and making them, they just need to have the correct scaffolding around them. And I think with everything going on now in government, we've got, families are really fractured. I think we're still on a massive downward spiral from COVID, and I think that's got a hell of a lot to answer for. And I think we're at a situation now, when I was growing up, I mean, I was a single parent upbringing and my mum was able to work and sort of still be at home because you could earn enough to not have to work all the hours under the sun. You were supported. I got diagnosed 3 days later, someone from the National Autistic Society turned up and helped my mum fill in all the forms. She never filled in a form. And they were like, you can have this, you can have that. There you go. And there's her statement. And that was that.
Yeah.
My mum didn't have to do anything. And it was just done. And they were like, oh, here's an SRP. She can go there. There's the school. And it was just done. Whereas now, there's so many systems in place. I think it's simply because they knew this was going to accelerate. And the systems did absolutely nothing to ensure they were caught up. And I mean, Corinne, you're sort of living this, aren't you? Where you got a child in mainstream without, because Roman hasn't.
Roman's is under, so we've gone through these, graduated approach, SEND support at school. And they've changed the name to it.
Because it was like the SEND register. So he's on the SEND register. Yeah.
Yeah, he's on the SEND support. He only gets what the school are able to offer.
So he hasn't got an EHCP.
He hasn't got a leg to stand on. There's no law abiding.
Sorry. Yeah.
Luckily, he's doing okay, but he's 6 and has a lot of emotional regulation issues even now. They are really good with him. Like, I can't fight his school. It's hard because it's so different to Caleb. And, I know that with Caleb's EHCP, he'll be in his specialist provision. He'll be there until they can go till they're 19 there. And I know that his needs are always going to be better and that he'll be fine. I don't worry about him, which is mad.
No, I actually understand that. I understand that.
I know that even if he's had a bad day, they're going to put things into place. Whereas I pick Roman up and I always say, has he had a good day? Oh, he struggled here. And then I have to try and get it out of him. And I know that it's hard because he's in a class of like 30 children, 40 children. And I don't know. I just think and I know I can apply for any age. Yeah, I didn't realise you can apply for yourself.
Yeah, your parental request.
Yeah, the school have to do it. And one of my friends, another mum locally, messaged me like the other week on Insta. She was like, yeah, I applied for the HAP for my son and he's got it. And I'm like, I'm not going to do that. I just think it's school. Because when I've mentioned school, you get the whole, we think we can cope with his need, which is fine.
Yeah.
But I also have to think about his future and I have to think about...
I always think about secondary school. I think even if they get through primary, secondary is another kettle of fish.
Also, his diagnosis and his set of needs are individual to him. The EHCP is a passport of need that will move around with him. Whether the schools say that they can manage him or not, then they can't give you a guarantee that that's always going to be the picture. So I do think that he does need the validation of his passport of need within an EHCP, whether you leave him where he is or not.
Yeah. He ain't even diagnosed yet, though, Kellie.
He's not diagnosed.
You don't need.
He doesn't need to have a diagnosis.
No, I know.
Based on need.
He's a passport of needs.
And a lot of it's about getting evidence as well.
Still.
Yeah.
The educational psychologist saw him. Oh gosh, it was like 3 years ago when he was in nursery. I've still got it now. But that's a whole other kettle of fish. in our local area, we go through EHCPs and stuff. Educational psychologists obviously needed to go through that. Our one now is doing reviews on video chat.
Yeah.
And I think it's not just our area. I think a lot of other areas are doing that now because for some reason there's been I don't know how there's a shortage.
There's a massive shortage.
Our inclusion officer for the council has been given, she's been removed, and I'm like,
yeah.
I know where it's going, but again, I'm trying not to like
spiral.
Think the worst. I'm just kind of going with the flow, and if the questions need to be made, questions can be made, and as long as Caleb's new CHP's there, which I know it will be, ain't going to be taken off him because I got no chance I will let that happen. I will fight that to the end, but it won't anyway.
No, because he's in a SEN placement, he'd be fine either way.
And I want to go back to this EHCP thing. I think like that's a legal binding thing. It follows them wherever they said, even if you moved across the country, it still exists.
Yes. Yeah, you'd have to have a transition meeting as a process, but it'd follow.
But legally, it's fine.
It follows them.
You take it one council to another. It's the only document that is legally binding as well. Like the plan, do, assess, review. Not.
No.
Nothing else is.
I'm going to fight for the HCP, Roman.
And also,
Corinne, pressure to do it either.
No, I've been thinking about it anyway, and I've been like, it's a lot. It feels so hard to even start it, don't it? But I know
it's such a process. But
I know they ain't going to give it him.
They'll decline in the first time and then you'll go to tribunal. It's fine. It's almost like a standard, but they should concede. My thing is, when you're doing anything like this, and I would say this to any parent, you have to have evidence.
Yeah.
So ensure you've got up-to-date evidence.
All the evidence,
because you can self-refer. I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, because I know I can for Kent, but every borough is different, which does not help the situation.
You can self-refer.
Us trying to advise, like other boroughs are different. But most local authorities, you can self-refer for speech and language. You can self-refer for occupational therapy.
No one tells you this. This is the problem, and you have to find out yourself. And I feel like if parents and carers were given more information, you can do this. This is your right.
Gatekeeping now. It's all gatekeeping now.
Exactly. Because they don't, and this is we always have this conversation. Why is there so many more EHCPs being requested and, diagnosis being requested? Because we're more alert as parents and we're actually understanding our
and also the diagnostic criteria has drastically changed. Drastically changed in 2013. So I found this out the other day and it absolutely blew my mind. So when I was diagnosed, so from 1993 there was a different set of diagnostic criteria. Then it changed in 1994 to autistic disorder or Asperger's.
My brother was diagnosed Asperger's.
Asperger's was predominantly diagnosed in boys and very highly almost like I would say, and this is me just completely winging it, this is not factual, I would say Asperger's kind of feels like what we now refer to as PDA, where like some of the highly intelligent, doesn't have a learning difficulty but has the social aspect, more rigid, and that could kind of be perceived as demand avoidance, right? So you would have Asperger's like as a separate thing, and then you'd had autistic disorder, which was like the non-verbal learning difficulties, global delect, that was in another bit, and that was two separate things. It wasn't even considered on the same criteria. So if they're saying, I don't know, 1 in 100, when 1 in 100 kids was autistic, that was the criteria they were going on, right? In 2013, they took the criteria, they tore it up, they got rid of Asperger's, they put autism as one big spectrum with lots of different criteria, and it was changed. And they acknowledged at this point that you could have ADHD and autism together, because before you couldn't have both. So the fact that I was diagnosed autistic, even though I was showing all these ADHD traits, no one would touch me because I couldn't possibly have both. I can't have both. Can't have both. One or the other.
Also, it wasn't until the 90s that they would even recognise the diagnosis of ADHD in girls.
Oh, yeah.
Until then, as a boys only. I read 2010, but I just had a little Google and it said the 90s, but I read 2010. They didn't diagnose the first boy with ADHD in the UK until 1980s.
Yeah.
And it was labelled a boy's condition until the late 90s, early 2000s.
Yeah.
When we look at, I just wanted to also say, Corinne, I think your mindset about how to manage Caleb's diagnosis separate to Roman's is a really good one, because what you're doing is you're the same as me. You're validating that one of your children's needs are more complex, meaning that he does get certain guarantees and assurances that they've got to meet some level of need. And in many ways, that makes you a lot more experienced than a lot of parents, because you've got both ends of the scale. You've got one where you've really got to fight for it. And although Caleb
let's
is
not even
more
bring up
complex.
Hugo in this one because
You've got a good mindset about
that
it,
could be another
though.
chat.
You
Yeah,
have got a good mindset about it because
yeah.
one journey is very difficult and
It's
things are
yeah,
given. They feel given.
yeah.
But what you're managing is very difficult. Like with, when Oscar, I was told he was having an EHCP. I was told that he will never access mainstream education, and I'm offended. I'm grateful now for that early years journey. But I was thinking, who the hell do they think they're telling?
Yeah.
Whereas I was the opposite. I was like, go on, let's go.
But I think it's important to add note that you do still need to be mindful when you've got complex kids, because they did try and remove Oscar's history.
You can't take anything for granted, I don't think.
Which would have put his EHCP under threat, because there would have been an argument there why he even needs one. Even though he presents as someone with severe learning disabilities, on paper, he doesn't.
Yeah.
If you
Same with
remove
Caleb.
that information, he slips through the net. And then, so
This
it
is
is.
what
But
I'm
I think
like.
your mindset's brilliant about it, because you're saying, do you know what? I'm going to collect my energies and I am going to get that for him, and I'm not going to give up.
Yeah. He deserves it, and
it'd be very easy for you to
reminds
dismiss
me so
Roman.
much of me when I was younger, and like I know exactly, when he's a teenager and all these hormone changes, he struggles with his emotions now, and I can see it in him, and it's like,
he's high
I
functioning.
don't want him to end up being a teenager that, I mean, if he has to, is it EOTAS?
EOTAS.
That happened, whatever, but I don't want it to get. I want to be able to support him now and go, do you know what?
Yeah.
We're going to make these plans. We're going to give you the best.
Yeah.
Which is why, like,
Option.
he does all like the groups at school and stuff, and we encourage it. And I just think it's
protecting his emotional well-being, though, because he'll probably always be educationally in his learning, all right. But it's not about that. It's about is he emotionally surviving in the space.
But also bear in mind as well, you're going to be scaffolding him in that at home.
Yeah.
So it's not like you never had that.
We talk about it all the time. We talk about autism all day, every day. But Roman knows, and the best thing, my favourite thing is we'll talk about it. He'll go, "Mummy, what's autism?" I'm like, "What do you think it is, Roman?" And he'll say, "Is it because when I sometimes cry or I find the room too loud?" And I'm like, you just want to go, yes. Because I want him, and then I always flip it. I'm always like, but you know how you love your logos and you learn so much information, you're able to tell me all the day. So that's because you're autistic as well. And that's amazing. And I just want him, like, and we say it even when Caleb's around. I don't know how much Caleb's taking in, obviously, but
all of it, Corinne, all of it, 100%.
This is the thing, like with Caleb, because it's amazing because he's getting so verbal now. And me and Luke always speak about it. Sometimes, and we're all parents. We're not perfect all the time, but sometimes you do think actually, because he's learning so much more, and because his behaviour side or the struggles are dimming down a bit, you kind of sometimes, we do, expect him to do maybe a bit too much, and then you're like, hang on a sec, no, actually. And it's so easy to do that, I think.
I've done that loads of times.
I don't think that's pressure, though. I think that's belief.
I was going to say, I don't think that's a bad
thing. It's a belief in him. I think it's confidence building for him, because...
And it's not until, like, everything's fine, and it's like, and then we go, like, we went to the VE day the other week, and he, bless him, he went upside down on monkey bars that were, like, really high up, crashed.
Oh, no.
And he bruised all his hip, and it was really sore, and obviously that sent him really dysregulated, and he was breaking his heart, and it was like a meltdown, but like it was hurt as well. And it kind of, I was like, you just like, this is part of his need as well, and it just kind of makes you think,
but you know what, I think that's everyone. You can't get it right all the time. You cannot, even when, like, I do things, I think, I should know better because I'm autistic too. Just because I'm autistic doesn't mean that I understand everything that my son's going through. And it doesn't mean you're not going to make mistakes. And also, I think there is such a thing as being able to push the boundaries, like, a little bit. You've got to open them up a little bit, otherwise you can make their world really, really small if you're not careful.
But so also, I think
we encourage everything.
You got to.
His brother, we're like, don't hit him, like, you know what I mean? There's also boundaries as well, and I think it's so hard, isn't it?
You can still discipline and stuff, it's just done in a different way, or it's just done in a way that, like with mine, he always has to know why something, and I think that's all kids to an extent, but he very much needs to know, like, why are you asking me not, like, but even if I say don't go in the road, he's like, why? I'm like, because the car will hit you and then you'll end up in hospital.
Really?
And we've had that conversation so many times, but he needs constant reminders. And that's part of his, like, you know, needs and stuff. Yeah, and it's just something that we do, and we don't go, well, you know, don't question it. And I think it's very easy for some parents to go, well, because I said so, and I'm your mum, and actually we have to kind of take a step back and go, no, actually he just needs to know the answer. So we still do the discipline bit. We still tell him he knows right from wrong, and he's not allowed to do certain things. And, you know, if he's unkind at school, like, we talk about it to him in the same way we would if he was typical. You know, I think they can all learn right from wrong. But again, that depends on, I think they can.
It depends on need, though, don't it? It depends
It does
on
depend
how
on
they
need. Like, that's me talking about him. If
They
I
have
say
to
had,
understand right.
they have
and
to have the
wrong,
understanding.
don't
Like,
they?
if I had, for
Yeah,
instance, like Oscar, like, in some ways, Oscar and my son are, like, you know, Oscar and Brody are quite similar, but in other ways, they're quite different, obviously, like very, very different. And, you know, there might be things that Brody has capacity to understand, but he doesn't yet. Do you know what I mean? So if I was parenting
the same
him,
size, really, Amber, weren't they?
they were the same
Lovely.
size.
But I think you've really outlined something here, Amber, about failing forward as a parent. It's all right to get stuff wrong.
Yeah.
We're only doing it once for the first time. And I think if
Yeah.
you always got everything right, you'd never learn anything.
No.
And you got to remember, we've been brought up in a certain way,
Yeah.
you know, and even though we're, you know, trying to change, well, I personally change, what's the word? How my
Change
parents
cycles.
cycle.
Yeah.
And a lot I have, like,
You've done a lot of cycle breaking,
There are
yeah.
certain things that are integrated in your brain, or the way you
Yeah, of
act,
course.
that are going to be something you like. And sometimes I have to be like, oh, hang on, maybe I should say that. I
Yeah.
think we're all human, we're all learning.
Oh, I do it. But even earlier, we were trying to get out the door, and I was like, you know, I'm not being funny. Like, I'm due on. I feel like I want to rip my skin off when I'm due on. I'm like the worst. I turn into the Incredible Hulk. I'm like, I want to rip my skin off. I hate it all. Everything's pissing me off. I'm tired. My stomach hurts. I'm like, leave me alone. And then, like, you know, I'm trying to do something, and then bless him, he follows me round as I'm trying to, like, get out the door. So I'm like, where's my keys? And he's literally right behind me. And I'm like, please stop following me. And then I'm like, I'm shouting at him. I'm like, I'm so sorry, you know. And I think one of the best parenting advice is, the best thing someone ever advised me, I don't even know who told me this or where I saw it, was like, always apologise. So I always apologise, but it's jokes now, because I'll go, well, sorry, baby, I didn't mean to shout. And he's like, it's all right, mummy, I know you're sorry. Or like, I'll go to do something, and he goes, it's all right, mum, take a deep breath. And I'm like,
love that, though.
I'm like, you're mugging me off for gentle parenting here, but I love it.
You know
And
what,
he
though?
does
I
it at
think
school as well. He told his teachers to take a deep breath. I was like, oh no.
Oh,
I think
God.
without realising it, we develop our parenting every year they get older. Like, Amber, how
Yeah.
you're parenting Brody now is not how you were parenting him a year ago.
No.
Because they grow and we change. And I
Yeah.
think, Corinne, this is where I'm
With
going to say
Caleb.
to you, you're in 3 different stages at any one time. Don't
Yeah.
overlook that for yourself, because it's massive. You know, like, I parented Orla and she's now 23. I then parented Lorcan and he's now 18. And now I'm applying some of that and changing some of it
Yeah.
to Oscar. But I've had the benefit of doing them all separate. You've got
doing it all at
needs
once.
there and needs there and needs there. And
Me and Dan have only got one
looking
each.
beautiful. I don't know.
Caleb definitely doesn't have PDA traits. Like, if you said anything to him, he'd just be like, very chill. Bless him, isn't it? A recent thing is, like, if he, like, because he doesn't have very good spatial awareness, if he, like, trips over or falls into me, and I'm like, oh, he'll go, sorry, mummy. And I'm like, it's okay. And he's just really, like, attentive. When he raids the fridge in the morning for his chocolate and crisps, and he always come in and bring Roman one as well. Like, he loves sharing and stuff.
So sweet.
That, I'm like, oh, so cute. But when I've
He's
got, like,
so adorable.
Caleb doesn't like, we could just tell him off and be like, no, Caleb, don't do that. And he'll just be like, well, he just started going, like.
I love it. Little teenager.
Where did you learn that from? But I know that he ain't like, and then you've got Roman. So if I'm saying something to Caleb and Roman's in the room, it can trigger in him. And I'm like,
yeah, he internalises it all, doesn't he?
yeah.
As they get bigger as well.
Running around non-stop.
I think as they get bigger, I think that actually, although Caleb's your older one, I think he will mirror Roman because he's a big character.
Yes.
Yeah.
Roman is a very big character.
He is. He's gonna be on the screen or something. He's
adorable. He's
adorable.
on stage. We've already discussed it. He wants to go on Wicked. He's obsessed. Can't wait for part 2.
Oh my God.
I'm like, we're going to go together.
I love that.
The problem is I can't let my child near any microphones or stages.
He will swear.
Okay.
He'll call them all like motherfuckers.
The Roman swears as well, but we've got to the point now where it's like,
oh, we managed to cap that.
Swear at home. And you don't swear at school.
Oh no, mine tells me off. if I'm in the car and someone does something, I go, oh, whatever, dickhead. He's like, no, thank you. I'm like,
Tommy's like that, but
I'm the
he'll swear like a
opposite.
trooper at home.
does he?
Yeah.
I love a swear, but I'm very mindful in front of Oscar. But Oscar applies it in context.
That's the
And
bit
he'll
I
do
love.
it in an American accent.
Yeah.
So in the mornings I go, morning, mate. And he goes, fuck you, Mum.
Oh my God, did you see that thing I tagged you in?
Oh,
There was a
yeah,
video of a special needs teacher and she had a drawing and basically
Oh my God. Yeah,
she
that's
had
him.
told it was a non-verbal, like I think older child, like a teenager.
That's
and
him.
they had asked them to do something they weren't happy about, so they drew a middle finger and presented
fair.
it to them. That is
That's
brilliant.
Brilliant.
I was like, that is brilliant. And I tagged
That's
Kelly and me. I was
Oscar.
like, that is Oscar.
Yeah,
To a
it is
T. I was
Oscar.
like, that's Oscar.
Like at the moment,
Yeah.
I've got the absolute cutest. You know, his voice is really cute, but he says not cute things.
But I think that's even better and the worst thing is you want to pee yourself, like you want to laugh, and you're like, I can't laugh.
In the car, he has to listen to it in order.
All
But
right,
it will be like Kendrick Lamar, ABBA, Snoop,
I love
Tenacious
that.
D,
Oh,
Taylor
Tenacious
Swift.
D.
A little bit.
Do you know what I mean? Right?
Yeah,
There's
yeah,
some
yeah.
of them have got swearing in them.
Have you shown him? Is it greatest song in the world? Is it that
He
Tenacious D one?
yeah, he also likes Wonder Boy. And he'll
Okay,
sing it with all the colourful language.
love that.
But
It's
you
Jack
know,
Black. It's
he's
fine.
but you know, he's quoting a lot of these lyrics. Just randomly to teachers. He pinned a teacher in the corner this week and gave them a whole verse and chorus of a song that had quite a few swearing words in. Yeah. And I'm like, oh no, I don't think we've got that one.
Because I just laugh at the kids swearing.
You just have to
So
pretend
I
it
would be
come
the
from
worst
home.
teacher in the world.
What was
I
that?
couldn't contain it.
Yeah, Roman. I
that?
don't know where he's got it
I
from.
couldn't contain it. I'd laugh because
No, this is me. I'd be horrendous.
He listens to Snoop and
The best.
Eminem.
Hugo, what does Hugo eat like? He's worse than how Caleb was with food.
Oh, really?
We're going round 2, yeah. We're like, so we're going back to kind of what we used to do. Because Caleb now, I don't
Eats
know,
everything.
obviously amazing. He's gone polar opposite, and he's like a walking food vacuum, and he I'm so like eats everything, like everything.
It's mad how that happens. I was the same, and I don't know what.
Like little podge and like little man boobs, and I'm
Yeah,
like,
I love it.
like him, like really skinny and that.
It might just be a sensory things like
Yeah, he is.
They like the predictability.
Oscar's definitely got ARFID, right? 100%. But he is building on what he's eating, but it's all very specific. So I have to buy certain foods from certain places.
Yeah.
So now at school every day he'll eat a pretzel, which they're really big. They're like the size of his head.
Yeah, they're huge.
And they're really salty. He'll eat a whole pretzel at school and 2 boxes of 8 crackers. So he's eating 16 crackers and a pretzel at school. That's
that's a lot. That's a lot of calories.
Fair,
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Then he's getting home. And he has to have it in order. So I have to completely nuke 6 chicken legs in my air fryer with pink salt so it goes all crispy, all the skin. He'll peel the skin off them. I mean, it must taste delicious.
It sounds
He'll
amazing.
peel all the skin off them
Yeah.
and eat all the bits on the outside of the meat. There was only one ever time last week he ate all the meat off them as well.
Wow.
So he'll eat the skin and then he'll call me and he'll say, chicken is finished and now it is fish. And I have to swap the plates and give him 2 cold cod with batter on.
Okay.
He will eat all of the batter on both sides of the fish.
He's got protein.
And leave the fish. Then he says, fish is finished. And now it is time for 4 slices of pepperoni pizza. And then he will eat all of the pepperoni off the pizza. Then that's finished. Then he wants a whole French stick.
Kel, I
right?
dread to think what your food shop bill looks like. This is why we need DLA, guys. This
Three-
is what DLA goes on.
days.
What is that
his
bill? Oh my
food
God.
bill, I mean, well, his NHS milk bill is £600 a month.
No, that's
Right,
mental.
and the
That is
chemists are
horrendous.
not allowed to keep it overnight. As soon as it comes into stock, I have to go and get it. She said, I'm not allowed. We've not got enough insurance to keep it here. She said, if it gets
Wow.
nicked. So if I was having to buy that milk, He drinks 4 a day. They're £10 each.
And that's all his nutrients. So he's getting everything he needs nutritionally.
But if I had to buy that and his food, it would be £50 a day because he has
That's mental.
a £2.50 pizza, £2.50 fish, the French stick, they're about £1 something, 6 chicken legs, they're a couple of quid. So if you add all that up, and so that's why when I'm saying to Brendan, you don't give me any money towards anything.
No, he needs to.
Like every day I just go and buy what's for dinner. Maybe I might buy, like I do between Morrison's and Aldi's normally. But remember, I've got all at home at the moment and Lorcan. So every day I'm buying bread and milk. Like they'll literally eat a loaf of bread a day. Bread and milk, something for dinner, like chicken, wraps, chips, or salad, or fajitas.
See, I'd be skiving the chicken off Oscars and being like, there you go.
Yeah. But I can't get my food bill down. It is literally between £55 and £60 a day, and that is not buying anything extra.
Jesus, Kel.
God, I was like, I need to get an OnlyFans to like do the strawberry bill, but like that's mental.
I'm saying,
no, honestly, punnets the strawberries we go through. That's another level.
To him, you're not. This is why I need the spousal allowance. This is why I need the rental income. This is why I need your maintenance. Because if you add all of that up, my food bill alone is probably £250, £300 per week.
Per
week. You're talking
without
like
a takeaway. That's without even one takeaway.
Well, it's £1,500 a month. That's 1,500 quid. That's like my rent is your food bill. That is mental.
And that's not without even one single takeaway.
Or going
out. If you add up all the other bills and all of that, and literally his response is, well, I could walk away and pay nothing if I wanted to. But...
Okay, right. Thanks everyone for listening, and we'll be back next week. And if you want to hit us up, we are on Instagram and TikTok. All the what's the word? All the things are in the show notes. All the links are in the handles are in the show notes, and we'll see you soon. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.